Welcome back to my channel. I'm your host, Kerry Bogar, and you will now tune in to No One Watches Regular News. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. So let's talk about Harris's first joint interview on CNN. And right now, the conversation is that she's scared. She looks weak. What's the problem with Harris not being able to do a one-on-one interview uh, with just her? Why is it that Harris has to do an interview with Tim Walz? So right now, this is the major issue. She has not done an interview since July. She does one now, and it's with CNN. It's not by herself. In the meantime, July and now, she could have done numerous interviews, 5, 10 minutes long, just answering a few questions, right? That way that she gets warmed up. That that nervousness, that anxiety goes away. The more you practice, answer questions, you use the media to your advantage, not disadvantage. You give the media some substance. You make sure that the media is on your side, not against you. So all that time has passed, and Harris could have done interviews, plenty of interviews, press conferences. Just answer questions. If you mess up, you mess up. At least the media knows that you are not afraid to answer questions. That you are not afraid to dodge them. But we have seen right now from Harris, she's somewhat timid, afraid, anxiety. She's nervous. Her only job right now for this interview with CNN, the joint interview, is for her to not embarrass herself. Whatever you do, don't say the wrong thing. Just don't embarrass yourself. It's a simple joint interview. I don't know if Harris will be asked tough questions. Don't know that. We will have to see. But you cannot go this long and not answer questions. So she's kind of in a tough spot right now.
Well, on August 8th, earlier this month, Kamala Harris said that she would, in fact, do a sit down, in depth interview, and she would do so by the end of this month, by the end of August. And guess what? She actually made good on that promise because her first sit down interview has been announced. In fact, it was announced about 30 minutes before we went live today. So Kamala Harris will do a joint interview with her running mate, Tim Walz, on CNN this week on Thursday. It'll take place at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And Dana Bash will be the anchor who will conduct that interview. And guess what? It'll also mark the first time that Kamala Harris will do a sit-down interview since Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race on July 21st. Now, Kamala probably tried to stall in doing an in-depth interview for a number of reasons that I want to get to in just a moment. But before I do,
hey, don't scroll away. You do it at tyt.com. Yeah, I'm worried about it. So I'm worried about the whole thing. So up until now, they've been running a brilliant campaign. You definitely don't hear me saying that often about Democratic campaigns. Like, I'm not.
So as of right now, it's very obvious that they are running a good campaign. You have Barack Obama on your side. So, they're able to go to the swing states, spend money to target certain voters like black men. So they're doing a good job in running the campaign. A good job. They have not done a good job with the media. Right now, that's her main issue right now. Her flaw, her weakness is the media. Is you're not talking to the media, and you have to talk to them. Just go ahead and just get this out the way. Don't avoid it. Just get to business.
I've ever said it. Outside of Ojeda that almost won in West Virginia and a couple other quirky campaigns that were amazing. Uh, so why did you guys let this drag out so long? It makes it seem like she's scared to do an interview.
Yeah.
all that will do is create more anxiety for her
Yep.
and more pressure and more
Yep.
people looking at it. Whereas if it didn't bubble up to be an issue and you just did an interview right away, nobody would have even thought about it, right? You do a simple one, you do a 5-minute one, a 10-minute one. There's 1,000 ways they could have done this. But now I'm worried that she's nervous.
Well, sure.
And that's why you wind up doing it with, and look, again, fair show in America. When Trump and JD Vance were doing it together, I said Trump is leaning on JD Vance, especially because the Biden switch had just happened. And Trump is still using old talking points and he's leaning on JD for the new ones. Because his brain already problematic, is struggling, right? So you don't want to give up the same vibe and energy. So
yeah, if you ever look at the JD Vance, Walz interviews, they do well. JD Vance does real well in his interviews. So does Tim Walz. The issue is Trump doesn't do very well. Harris is very obvious that she struggles. So Harris cannot keep leaning on Walz for help. So if she can answer the question, she'll look at Walz for help. It can't go that way. This is why she should have been doing interviews since July. All through August, just talk to people, just talk, do podcasts, do small interviews, something to give people substance. That you don't appear afraid or nervous or, like he said, anxiety.
you don't need Tim Walz to back you up. There's alternate theory here that I don't believe is, you do the one together so that then Tim Walz doing interviews by himself makes sense. It makes sense right now. That doesn't make any. Yeah, that's nonsensical. I don't believe it. So they shouldn't have waited this long. This particular interview, like the person it's with, CNN, Dana Bash, totally fine. I don't care. It could have been any of them. By the way, if you guys don't know this, all the anchors and the networks behind the scenes promise to be as soft as they possibly can. Then they pretend that they didn't promise that. And then half the time they halfway betray their promise, right?
Look, to be fair, I have my issues with some of Dana Bash's coverage lately, especially as it pertains to Gaza, but she's done some tough interviews.
Yeah. It's a good person to pick if you want, at least the appearance of a tough interview, or maybe an actual tough interview. And by the way, the proof is in the pudding. We'll see the interview and we'll see if it's tough or not, right? But I don't think any of these mainstream media guys ever do a tough interview. Because look, if I was doing an interview, the first thing I'd ask is, why should we bother even listening to any of your proposals? Because the Democrats almost never deliver on their promises.
Right.
Look, I think the reason why Kamala Harris stalled on the interview.
So in all honesty, man, the whole point of campaigning is just to get the support, the voters. If Harris wins and gets in the White House, she now has to answer to the donors, the money men, the people that put up so much money for your campaign. So their needs, their wants get, come first before the American people. Everyone knows that.
Is because she's kind of in an impossible position. So she is going to be asked to defend policies that have not been popular in the Biden administration or failures of the Biden administration. Okay, she's going to be asked about Gaza. That is a difficult issue to talk about as a politician trying to garner favor among the electorate. She's probably going to be asked to comment on the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's been getting a lot of news lately because of the anniversary of that event. But it was, look, I was in favor of pulling out of Afghanistan. Obviously, the way that it went down and the number of Americans who were killed as a result was awful. So she's going to be asked about that. She's probably going to be asked about the failures with the border crisis. She's probably going to be asked about inflation and what her plans are. And look, she has, in my opinion, struggled in the past in doing sit-down interviews. Like Tim Walz, number one, does not have that problem of having to defend the Biden administration. Kamala Harris is.
If anyone has seen a Harris interview, you notice this, that she struggles to answer questions, tough questions. I've seen this. Don't know if it's her being nervous, anxiety, or simply Harris does not know what to say or how to answer the question.
In the Biden administration. So that's going to be a challenge. And Tim Walz is kind of comfortable and natural and conversational when he sits down to talk to reporters. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do the same thing. And so I want to provide one example. This is the example that gets a lot of attention, but this is what I'm personally concerned about when it comes to Kamala Harris. She just kind of freezes up. And I know that she has like some issues with anxiety. And I feel like maybe that anxiety is really, really showing itself when he does these types of interviews. Let's take a look.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
Right.
Has she really never been to Europe? I find that hard to believe. But anyway.
Very defensive. And we have seen this year during a rally. Harris was it was in, I believe, in Michigan, and it was a protester in the crowd saying something to Harris. Harris got upset. Harris said, "You know what? If you want to vote for Trump, then just say that. But I'm speaking." So we have seen this from Harris, to where when it comes to confrontation, tough questions, she responds in a negative way. No different than Trump. Like, people always give Trump slack for, being so rude, negative. She's the exact same way. No different. Except she gets a pass because she's a woman of color and all that stuff. So Harris will get a pass on that, because they'll say, well, Trump does it.
Obviously, that wasn't a great way of handling the question. There's other examples as well. But one other thing that I'll mention, Cenk, is, I would be shocked if Dana Bash didn't ask Kamala Harris how much she knew about Joe Biden's mental decline prior to that debate. So that's going to come up too. So look, she's on cloud nine right now. They've been campaigning well. She's increasing her lead in the national polls.
Right.
She didn't want to do an interview that could actually, potentially sacrifice some of the good vibes that voters are feeling toward her.
Yeah, no, this is a big problem. Okay, so I'm going to give one more comment in favor of her. One of our members, Courtney Biggie, has a different theory. I don't think that's why she's doing the joint interview, Cenk. She's doing a joint interview because Tim Walz makes her look good. Perfectly plausible theory, no problem. Love doing the show with you guys. Hit the join button below to be a part of the show and be a member. Okay, now, having said that, look, guys, overall issue, we baby our politicians. We baby them so much.
Yeah, we deserve better.
So, all the things that Anna's talking about, yeah, those are tough for a politician because we baby them. And their main talent is sucking up donor money, right? So the Republican, Democrat doesn't matter. So if we were old school and your main talent needed to be convincing people to vote for you instead of convincing people to donate to you, right? We'd have killers there. And then none of this would be a problem, right? So if you ask me any of those questions, I just bat them away. It's no big deal at all. Okay, hey, Lester, going to a border and looking at a line in the sand doesn't make a difference. What makes a difference is me being here in Honduras and trying to fix the core of the problem, right? I can do that on any given issue. It's super easy. And we're worried that our presidential candidate can't do this super easy.
Yeah.
So I'm worried because there's two.
Yeah. Just being able to answer questions should be easy. Should be easy. Harris has raised $540 million in just funds towards her campaign. That's a lot of money. Use that to buy ads, do interviews. Use it to your advantage. Not hide, not duck people, dodge the media, don't answer questions, because you have to make sure that you get everything out the way first. If it's something that needs to be addressed right now, you address it right now before it's too late. No different than in 2016 with Clinton, when she was doing real well in the polls up until late October, November, and it was a collapse. So right now, Harris is in the exact same position. She's doing well in the polls, has a good campaign going, but all it takes is one slip up, one error, one mistake, one bad debate like Joe Biden, one bad interview, and that will suck the air out of this momentum that she has gained. That's all it takes. One error, one bad mistake, and it can be over.
Things that could be potential problems. I said this as soon as they got momentum, and I'm like, look, it's tied. Now she's got a little bit of a lead. But the two giant problems are war, if it happens in the Middle East, and word salads. So
Bad
that was a
interviews.
problem for her for about 3.5 years, so
Yep.
4 years, the word salads. If they reappear, oh boy, okay, then it's a different dynamic and we're in a world of trouble, right?
Yeah.
And why am I worried about it now? Because they made such a big deal out of it. And it seems like they're nervous about it. They were asking politicals reporting, they're asking other reporters, who should we do it with? It was just, no, look, guys, here's the correct approach. Do hundreds of interviews.
Yes.
Oh, well, oh my God, you might make a
Yes.
mistake or two. That's right. But me,
Do as many interviews as you can. It's no different than a person looking for a job. You apply, do interview after interview, so you get practice, so you know what to say. You better yourself. Practice makes perfect, right? Practice makes perfect. You're going to make mistakes, have slip ups, but people will know that you're not afraid to talk to the media. So if Harris continues going down this road, it's not going to look good for her. You just do as many interviews as you can to work through the issues if there's any. Like right now, it's a bunch of reports that's out right now with just the issues within the Democratic Party behind the scenes with Joe Biden, Barack Obama's camp, Harris's camp. There's tension behind the scenes that people don't even know about. So what you do is you have to answer these questions ahead of time to address the issues, to get it out the way. So this does not become an issue on down the line.
meanwhile, you're scoring and scoring and scoring because you're constantly on the offense and you're putting them on the defense. And then they're, Trump, he's going to run the wrong direction, score against himself.
Yeah.
Go on the offense and stay there. Every interview is millions of dollars in free media.
Yes.
Like these giant
Use that money.
millions of dollars in free media. What are you raising all that money for?
Yeah.
You're raising it.
Exactly. You have raised over $500 million. Why are you just sitting on the money? Use it to your advantage. Bam. Like, do interviews. Do as many as you can.
Have ads. The ads are not as nearly as effective as actually the content when you're in the show, right? So, and all these guys in the press, they all do it for like, she should do an interview with me. She should do the interview with me, right? I don't think she should do an interview with us. I don't think she can survive an interview with us. I'm being honest. Okay. Yeah. So it just has nothing to do with personal interest other than win the goddamn election. If you want to win the election, do dozens of interviews. You and Tim Walz have
Right.
do like hundreds of interviews. So you get hundreds of millions of dollars in free media to make your case. If you can't make your case, you're not the right person. And I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. I'm not massively worried. She hasn't done anything wrong yet. The interview hasn't happened. It's on Thursday night. Let's see how it goes. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So we will see what happens during the interview. Her only job is to not embarrass herself. Don't be going into this word salad that she always does. Just yapping away, not really making any sense. So if she does not embarrass herself in this interview, it'll be a relief. But she can't go another month and don't do an interview. She needs practice. She has to get warmed up. Next week is the debate. I think the debate will tell a lot about Harris. If they're saying that it's anxiety, it's her being nervous, she's going to be even more nervous on the stage with Trump. That's the whole point of you practicing. You get warmed up. You get familiar. you gain knowledge. But we have not seen this from Harris, and it has been a struggle for her. So this election will come down to either Trump will make the most mistakes or Harris. So whoever makes the least amount of mistakes will be in a better position to win. If Harris stays on this route of avoiding the media, it's not going to be good for her. If Trump keeps on making mistakes as well, it's not going to be good for himself too. So we shall see how the interview goes with Harris and Walz. We shall see what happened.